the French military stormed lower quarters in Victoria, forcing many people to relocate into bushes. Southern Cameroon journalists persecuted by La République. The family of the Ghanaian pastor that was murdered in Batibo threatened to take Biya and his military to the ICC. The 2nd of July 2018, many inhabitants of Victoria were forced to take refuge into bushes as the French Cameroon military were arresting people and looting their property. We are going to cover more on that story in our next newscast. But still in the Fako region of Moyoka, many different reports are making allusions to the fact that the parish priest of Bomaka was surely a victim of targeted killing. The Reverend Father Sob was killed July 2018 by French Cameroon military, according to witnesses. With mourning still ongoing, many questions are being raised whether the Cameroon government is now targeting civilians. Our reporter Akpan Kwane covers the story in full.
The young, intelligent, charismatic priest is victim of targeted killing. Authorities of the Roman Catholic Church in Buea are not ruling out court action against the French Cameroon Army over the assassination of the priest of the Bomaka Parish, Fako County, Southern Zone. Reverend Father Alexander Sobnugi was shot at point-blank range at the Moyoka main market on July 20, 2018. Several residents who witnessed the scene suggest that the man of God was a victim of targeted killing and was never hit by a stray bullet in the ongoing war against Southern Cameroons. Some of the eyewitnesses preferred not to be named.
Father Sob did not receive any stray bullet. He was a target because he was shot twice, and from both sides of his mirror. He was seated in his car at the Moyoka park. When he wanted to get out, he went to drop some people at the park, and getting out of the park, he realized that the roads, there was some disorder on the road, and he drove back into the park, stationed his car. There, two soldiers walked up to that car because they saw that the car wanted to drive out, and immediately, I don't know what they took him for, maybe a suspect or what, and they shot at him from both sides of the car. His front mirrors were destroyed, the front doors, and the bullet that took him on the left side passed through his heart, got out through the back, and then burst his seat. So the bullet is somewhere in his car, and then the other bullet that took him on the right side is in his body. So for now, the authorities of the Diocese of Buea went, and as they shot at him, they disappeared. And with the alarm, since as he's a Moyoka guy, people came out, and the Amber boys came out, took hostage of his corpse, that they need the bullets because they know that they're going to accuse them for killing him. So they need the bullets to show that those bullets used were not theirs but those of the government.
Unfortunately, the French Cameroon military had made no pronouncements over the death of 2 clergymen within a week, including Reverend Father Sop. Detailing for SCBC News, I am Akpan Ngwane.
A Southern Cameroon top government official working in La République du Cameroon has warned Ambazonians about receiving motorbikes or Okadas from La République du Cameroon in the name of humanitarian aid. In his letter, the top government official warned Ambazonians not to receive any of such gifts from La République du Cameroon, and he advocates for all Ambazonians to unite and work in synergy in order to win this war declared on our people. Our reporter Nelly Ako has got full details of the story.
The letter from the Southern Cameroonian minister serving in French Cameroon and who did not wish to be named contained several issues, some of which has evidently been implemented. We can mention the Northwest-Southwest divide, the old gimmick used by French Cameroon government. This was quickly buried by Southern Cameroonians who remain a people and cannot be divided. The minister, speaking through veteran journalist John Ba Akuro, in the letter dated July 14, 2018, announced that the motorbikes or Okada handed by the military to internally displaced persons in Meme and Manyu division are carrying trackers and devices that would help them locate our self-defense forces.
Anyone who uses those bikes must be a fool alive. Those bikes are meant to help expose as many as possible. They are fully equipped with tracking devices, voice recorders, and micro video cameras that will help provide information to the military on what is going on in those localities. This is the main reason I wrote this letter. Some of us have refused to sit back and watch such inhuman acts go on interminably.
There is therefore the need for those bikes to be abandoned and never taken to locations where Southern Cameroonians running away from military brutality are seeking refuge. The said minister also hinted that many Southern Cameroonian soldiers would be killed and that French Cameroon had hired snipers that would be on buildings, especially where they have mounted their illegal control posts on Southern Cameroon's territory. Parliamentarians were also advised to better resign and seek protection at foreign diplomatic missions before it is late for them. Above all, the minister said all frontline leaders and movements simply need to unite urgently.
Serious note, some of us would perhaps be ready to hang the rope around our necks by outrightly helping you succeed. But we can only really take that risk if we see you all beginning to work very closely together. You must unite one way or the other to instill hope in us that we see the risk of coming out as worthy. The weeks ahead are going to be very complicated for you, and only unity of purpose and cooperation will help you out. The government will soon bring back home hundreds of snipers being trained abroad now to come in as civilians and cause more havoc so that the presidential election holds in the Northwest and Southwest regions come rain, come shine. If you guys remain divided, you will crack.
From the minister's letter to Southern Cameroonians, there is the urgent need for Southern Cameroonians to desist from infighting and power-mongering and face Yaoundé head-on. Reporting for SCBC, my name is Nelly Vive.
Refugees get more food from IG. Southern Cameroons in the region of the locality of Danare 1 and 2 in Cross River State, Nigeria, were so much overwhelmed with joy a few days ago after receiving a consignment of foodstuff from the IG. This initiative started right from the days of His Excellency Seseku Ayok, and it is a medium through which they receive food through electronic food bank. Our reporter George Tando traveled all the way to Danare 1 and 2 and bring back more reports on the story.
The donation of food and non-food items to the localities of Danari 1 and 2 is coming barely 3 months after the Electronic Food Bank made similar gesture there. Danari 1 and 2 play host to close to 1,000 refugees from southern Cameroon, forced out of their homeland following the war declared by French Cameroon President Paul Biya. They are undoubtedly faced with similar challenges as in other camps, one of the major challenges being food.
So there are too many challenges. This rainy season, there's much hunger now that they have planted crops. New ones have not started coming up. So outside this, any other organization that is responsible for this people can push in and influence any organization. They should do that so that they relieve them. There will not be so much crying about their home. So many have been risking it, taking risks, going into their villages at night, taking bush routes just to make sure if they can get this seasonal mango, bush mango. But yet, it's not possible. The threat is so much that so many cannot risk it.
After the maiden visit of the Electronic Food Bank team to camps in Cross River State in March this year, the initiators are once more reaching out to their brothers and sisters in the various camps with Danari 1 and 2 included. Despite the many challenges faced in their various camps and host communities, it is always a moment of joy and relief when refugees have before them what can keep body and soul together.
We thank the Electronic Food Bank who have come here to solve our situation for the food items they have brought for us. So we thank them and we continue saying that God should continue to bless them and guide them and see our welfare.
We, the refugees here in Danari 1, we are grateful to the Electronic Food Bank for presenting this mighty gift to us. We pronounce the blessings of God upon them, many of their endeavors that they are doing out there. We still pray that they should continue to remind us until this war issue will be over. Thank you. We are going to go back to our house. Say, may God bless them richly and abundantly.
We thank Electronic Food Bank when they don't remember we from our villages to Danari 2. So they thank them, say, till the way they don't send them for we don't see them, and may God bless them. May they get more and more for help us until time we will go back.
The refugee for Danari 2. I want to thank Food Bank for the food where they bring them for we. I thank una very much. I thank una, may God bless una for any place where una there, so that una go continue for the remember we.
The local authority of Danari 2 also sees such gesture as a great relief to his subjects, who themselves have been grappling with the appalling situation of southern Cameroonians in their community.
There's nothing that is too small. This is so great because we don't expect this. Our concern is for the refugees. Just as we have been trying on our own to make sure that their welfare is okay. Whatever organization that is responsible for that, we don't have an interest. Our interest is we should be taken care of. So whatever that is given to us, we appreciate it.
The Electronic Food Bank is an initiative launched by His Excellency Sisiku Ayuk Julius Tabe in September 2017 in UK. It is run by two dynamic sisters from southern Cameroon based in Europe. During their maiden visit to camps in Cross River State in March, they provided food, toiletries, and medication to 8 camps. Their moments with children remain memorable. George Tando.
As the tumult continues in southern Cameroon, many southern Cameroonian journalists have been arrested and a lot of them have been detained. They are no longer free to attend training workshops. Our reporter, George Tando, covers the story.
Although the Southern Cameroon's restoration quest was packed off by teachers and lawyers, the journalism corps has also paid a heavy price in brutality, abduction, arbitrary arrest and detention of pressmen of Southern Cameroon's extraction. Since 2016, when the Southern Cameroon's crisis escalated, at least 6 journalists were arrested and thrown into jail. At the time of filing in this report, 3 of them are still locked up under deplorable conditions. They include Akombom Elvis McCarthy, who was beaten in the wake of the crisis and is being detained at the Bamenda prison since March 20th, 2018. Mancho BBC and Thomas Awa Jr., respectively serving 15 and 11 years jail terms at the hellhole called Kundengi Central Prison in Yaoundé. Some who were released from Kundengi left for exile, while the others have simply resorted to self-censorship amid fears of arrest and intimidations. McCarthy was arrested and detained for taking pictures of police brutality, while Awa and Mancho were jailed for some trumped-up terrorism charges. Recently in Bafoussam in French Cameroon, a UN-organized workshop on reporting in times of conflict turned sour when 9 Southern Cameroon's journalists were rounded up and detained for a whole night at a police station. One of the journalists told the SCBC that they had earlier been warned by a French Cameroon journalist to avoid conversing in English language few minutes before they were arrested. They would later be released without any reparations or explanations from the said police authorities as to why they were detained after the presentation of their identification and professional badges. On July 13, 2018, in French Cameroon's economic capital Douala, 28 Southern Cameroonian journalists saw a conference organized by a media organization abruptly brought to a halt by the duo for Douala 1, who claimed they had no authorization. SCBC was reliably informed that a declaration was tabled with the competent authorities. The resource person, who came in from the Center for Peace Journalism in the USA, is said to have been embarrassed as his appeal for the workshop to go to its logical end fell on deaf ears. The crisis in southern Cameroon has greatly exposed the various forms of attacks on southern Cameroon's journalists and press freedom as a whole. The muzzling of the press and the journalists goes as far back as 1961, if we are to mention the treatment meted out on veteran Southern Cameroonian journalists like the Bo Herberts, Temfak Ofeges, and Julius Wamis, amongst others. SCBC is adding its voice to all journalism organizations to demand the unconditional release of all journalists in detention. George Tando, SCBC.
In our next story, family members of the Ghanaian pastor that was killed are to drag Pobia to court. There are indications that the family members of the Ghanaian pastor that was killed in Batibo by the French Cameroon soldiers are to drag President Paul Biya and his military to the International Court. They are asking for the repatriation of the corpse of Apostle Isaac Atto, and our reporter Aisha Ann covers the full story.
The family of the Ghanaian clergy killed by French Cameroon soldiers has been in much pain since the demise of their son.
Such a tragic story at this stage is not easy at all, and we're not taking this lightly at all. It's so hard for us to accept the truth or believe this is the reality on the ground.
According to witnesses, Apostle Isaac Atto was murdered by French Cameroon soldiers in Batibel on July 14, 2018, and was subsequently hurriedly buried by the mayor of Batibel under pressure from the government without family consent.
We heard the government buried the body just to conceal evidence without even alerting the family or alerting the government of Ghana first, which to me I feel is inhumane. It's very wicked for the government to take such a decision without getting in touch with the family first. And for that, we are not taking lightly at all.
The silence of the Cameroon government to the family is not only unacceptable but incriminating, and the latter has already tabled the matter before the Ghanaian Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Family lawyer and everything, we're ready to take action. And we're hoping in a week or less we hear from the Cameroonian government before we even take any action, because till date we haven't heard anything. Nobody has called us from Cameroon, or the Cameroonian government has not got in touch to try and talk to us about the whole situation. So we are just waiting patiently, and by a week, if we don't hear from them, we're taking action. Well, we're taking Mr. Paul Biya to the ICC. We are going to expose him. We're going to reveal all that wickedness that's going on in Cameroon. We're going to bring all the darkness in Cameroon to light, to let the world know what is happening in Cameroon. I feel like he died, he's sort of like a crusader on his side. He died so that such atrocities will not repeat themselves again.
A few days after the killing of the Ghanaian missionary, French Cameroon soldiers also murdered the parish priest of the Bomaka Boya parish. This begs the question that, if men of God are not safe in southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, who else is? Aisha Ann, SCBC News.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. God bless. Long live Ambazonia. Short live the revolution. Bye-bye.
State-controlled media have called for an overhaul of an industry which one newspaper editorial said had been contaminated.